Welcome back to that Grassroots Ramble. Now, forget the Premier League, forget the Champions League. Today, we're speaking about a very special day in the non-league calendar.
Yes, that's right. This episode is dedicated to the upcoming non-league day, and I'm delighted to say we have two very special guests joining us for the episode. James Doe, who founded non-league day, and alongside him, Francis Duku, CEO of Our Game. Welcome both.
Thank you. Yeah, James, Francis, welcome to the show. Now, I think everyone watching should be familiar with non-league day, but in case they've been living under a rock, James, you want to tell us what it's all about?
Okay, well, essentially, it's just, a chance to go and watch non-league clubs on an international break. All the big teams are without a game. There's all these fans washing around with nothing to do. We're told there's no football on always. But there is. There's loads and loads and loads of football on. And we want people to go and watch that instead.
Francis, you had a fantastic career playing in non-league. We were talking off camera, several clubs, and you subsequently, following your retirement, got involved and founded Our Game, and importantly, the Our Game community scheme, which is involved with non-league day. I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about Our Game and then why you got involved with non-league day.
Well, Our Game is set up to be a support service for players and clubs at non-league level. Time playing, I saw a lot of things that could have been done better. Particular experience I had when I was injured, major injury for me at the time when I was really doing well, and the experiences from that made me think I could do something to help more players, to navigate what I had to. 10 years ago we started that, and as we went along, realised there's more which we could do for the non-league community as a whole, which is where the community scheme idea came up from. But along the way I met James, quite early on in the journey, and we just got involved as Our Game, trying to support and be part of the journey. And as we've evolved with the community scheme, we've decided we could sponsor and really support the campaign, and we've gone from, I'd hope, strength to strength.
Yeah, without Francis getting involved a couple of years ago, we probably would have stopped because the costs were just getting crazy as it was getting bigger and bigger. And thankfully Francis has stepped in and we're still here.
Good, sounds like the perfect partnership. Working on non-league day, you must both follow a non-league team. James, starting with you, who do you follow and why?
Harrow Borough in the Southern League Premier Division South. They were the local team where I was living as a teenager. And I've always been into football, whatever it was, I would always watch it. I wasn't particularly partisan. I had my clubs, but it was on the doorstep. I couldn't afford to go and watch the big teams, so I just went with the local kids. We used to go and watch it, and that was the first game I saw was 35 years ago. Wow. At the start of this month, I found out.
Still going strong.
Big birthday.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Francis, same question to you.
I think take your pick from one I've played for, really. I think I spent most of the time, training and playing games. So I've just kept in touch with people at clubs I've played for over the time, mostly in the southeast of England area. So yeah, there are a few you could maybe pick.
Still got good affinity with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you were telling us how you were at Bromley versus Wrexham, and that is a fixture we know all about on the Ramble as well. James, as founder of non-league day, you've mentioned 35 years of following the game, but can you take us back to the beginning where that love of this part of the pyramid became the idea to galvanise around the international break?
Okay, so I was following Harrow as a teenager. I went to university, kind of lost a bit of track of, and started to move away and lost touch with Harrow. Started to go and watch QPR again when I got the money to do so. And time went on, and we got fast forward to 2010, and I was on a pre-season tour with QPR, watching them down in Devon, and they're playing Tavistock, which was a tiny club, maybe in, maybe 10th or 11th tier at the time. And they were really going to town on the game. It was huge for them. There was adverts all over town, on buses, on the roundabouts, everything. QPR are coming to play for a friendly. And it was great. Neil Warnock always takes his team, whoever he's managing, down to Devon for these games. And the ground was packed. Everybody turned up from both sides. There was a full first team out from QPR, so they absolutely thrashed the team they were playing. But no one cared because it was a great day and everyone had a great time. And it was obvious that the money was massive for Tavistock. It would probably keep them going maybe for the whole season. And it just suddenly rebooted that love for me of this is what it was like 10, 15 years ago when I was going around all these grounds. It was just like, yes, this is great. I've rekindled it. And then I didn't think too much more about it. And then I went back to watch Harrow in a pre-season game a week or two later because I thought, I'll follow up on this. And there was an appeal for floodlight bulbs to get the money for new bulbs. And I thought, well, this is a senior club. Things must be tough if this is happening. And it was just after the financial crash of 2008, not long after that. And I sort of looked around and heard that there were lots of other clubs in a similar state. And I just suddenly saw there was an international break coming up about 6 weeks later. And I think it was the first time that England weren't playing on the Saturday, they were playing on the Friday night. I think it was against Bulgaria. And I thought, well, there's this gap. We could do something. There's no big games, there's no England. I just thought, well, I'll set something up on Facebook, an event, which was still fairly new for me as well at that time. And just thought I'd send it to a few friends and thought nothing more of it. And then apparently some of them had friends who were into it, and it got viral. And in 6 weeks, it went from that little idea to a national event.
Incredible.
It's a lot of traction, isn't it, from one social media post to where where you're sitting now. And obviously, the clubs have to kind of have initiatives to get the fans to these grounds. Can you give us some examples of some of the best initiatives you've seen around by non-league clubs?
Well, the one that always pops out that generated so much sort of news around the world was a tiny club in, I think, Suffolk, Bungay Town, who offered free mushrooms for everyone who would turn up.
I think they're on My Club Pro, Bungay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was creating headlines in America and China and all over the place.
Not heard that one.
Yeah, so it was, I think, one of the sponsors had a mushroom farm or something. And so he was just giving out a punnet to everyone who turned up. And another time, the same club, I think it was the previous year, paid everyone to turn up. They give you 5p if you turn up to the game. So things like that. But then there's lots more sort of standard things, like if you come with your season ticket from a Premier League club, you'll get in for free or half price or whatever. Or if you're an NHS worker or an emergency services or military personnel or something, you'll get a discount. So it really varies. But then there's other events which don't involve a discount. So come down and do some hamster racing or something like that, or face painting for the kids, or anything that gets the community out is what it's really all about.
Francis, no mushrooms selling at any of the games you were involved in? Or
No, not that I was
hamster
aware
racing?
of anyway, but I might have to ask now, check.
Can you remember, Francis, how it felt as a player in those occasions when you have kind of got that additional few hundred coming to watch you as well? Because part of the purpose of non-league day is about showcasing this wonderful part of the football pyramid that doesn't have all the money to go into the marketing. As we've seen, it's a viral initiative and the strength of community.
Yeah. No, we used to love it as players. I mean, you've bigger gates, you always want to play better, you can think for players who are also trying to push on, you always wonder who else has come to, to watch the game. But just the atmosphere around the ground, these days will make it more enjoyable for the players. You look forward to it, definitely look forward to it.
Following on from that question quickly, there are so many things to love about the non-league day game, and James, you alluded to a few of them: affordability, family friendly, creativity in terms of the experience. But if you were going to use this opportunity to highlight one part of the non-league game that you love most, what would it be?
Well, I would say just the accessibility is the main thing. You're close to the action, you can turn up on the day, get a ticket, it's cheap, you can see the players, you can chat to the players afterwards. When I was going as a teenager, I'd be on the team bus with them going to away games, which I don't know if that happens all the time now, but it did when I was a kid.
Still sometimes.
Yeah, it's just that it's there, it's potentially at the end of your street, and they want you there, and the access is there for everybody.
Francis, what would you pick out?
Yeah, I'd say same really, just the atmosphere, the vibe around it. So we was even talking on the way in, there's times where you could be playing and you could be getting, let's say, some, not abuse, but some comments, but it's good natured. You could have
Good banter.
Yeah, exactly. No, it actually can be. You can have fun and have a laugh with them. Obviously, there are people who go too far. That's where everyone, needs to stop it. But you could actually have, you could see the person giving you some banter, and then you score, whatever else, you give some back. Everyone enjoys it, and you smile and go at the end of the day.
Love that. And non-league, obviously, it's not professional, but the schedule can be just as demanding, travelling around. Kind of, Francis, you'll know this. Because you've got other jobs, and that's pretty incredible, isn't it? These players, what they go through.
Yeah, what they have to go through to play is intense. I mean, I was thinking back to when I was playing, particularly when we made the National League with Gravesend, now called Ebbsfleet. Some of the times you'd have to meet at the ground at 1 p.m, for a 7:45 kickoff, but then you wouldn't get back home again till half 2 in the morning, and this is all travelling on the day.
And you've got to work that around your day job as well.
Exactly. Yeah. To the time you get home, you literally could be couple hours sleep, you have to get up, go to work. Day after, you have to be back at training. You know, my manager at the time, there was no such thing as a day off. There's no days off. But now the game's moved forward. You know, you've got the National League now is mainly full time, but there are still some part-time clubs in there. And then as you go down, obviously, you've still got the other part-time clubs, but the demands are huge.
I mean, my team, Harrow, who play in the Southern League, which is the 7th tier. I mean, they have away games against Truro and Plymouth and all these sort of things, which is crazy for a team of that size.
You have to bring a pillow as a player. That's what you literally bring a pillow, some with a duvet, because you need to sleep where you can and then get home and start again the next day. So
I have so much respect for non-league footballers because of that point. You know, the stamina not only to compete competitively in the games that they play, but the travel commitments, making it work alongside jobs. But another thing I really respect about non-league players, which I think is very, very special as well, is their connection and their engagement with supporters. It is quite common after a game to go into the clubhouse, to have a drink with those players, and it's so raw and authentic, and it's another thing that people can go and find out when they take part in non-league day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've just on the way down here, I saw a video that's just been put up online, I think from Hendon. I think they had a game on Saturday, and they're just up in the sort of terrace with the fans banging their drums for them and hugging them all and coming over to say thanks for coming at the end of it. It's a really sort of heartwarming footage.
yes, you get a real connection with, you know, it's not 30,000-40,000 people that you can't actually identify who's there.
So, yeah, you get the same characters, don't you, every week, see them on the touchline.
In the same place, and you know, you'll build up that kind of relationship as it goes. So it's definitely one of the good features of it.
Yeah, and I know I said at the start of the episode, you know, forget the Premier League, but actually, Premier League are quite important, James, aren't they, in supporting you with this event?
They are. You know, that's been one of the most pleasing things about doing non-league days, how our relationship with the Premier League has evolved over the last few years. I mean, to start off with, we were no marks that no one would touch. You know, they'd like, who are these guys, whatever. And then they would start to take our messages and engage with us. And now they, you know, often come to us and say, let's put the meeting in the diary, let's schedule this. And they sort of, and that's, you know, that's the Premier League itself. But then a lot of the member clubs are very happy to do articles for us on their website, and then programs, social media, all this sort of stuff. And for the first year, this time we've got the Premier League trophy itself going to a couple of games.
Excellent.
Brilliant stuff. And all of that as well will trickle down to helping the players and in the work that you're doing, Francis. With non-league day growing in popularity each and every season, I've heard stories of supporters who have used the occasion to go and watch their first non-league game, and then they become regulars. They get addicted like we all do. We all love the non-league game ourselves. Where can people go and find where that local fixture is to them?
Okay, well, on our website, it's just nonleagueday.co.uk/map. And it's all there. Just put in your address, and I think it's the nearest 10 will just pop up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here on the Ramble, we talked about and we champion the importance of volunteers in football. You know, we've had a lot on the show. We speak to a lot all the time. Non-league day is contributing and helping with that, isn't it? Helping volunteers get into clubs.
Well, yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, we're all volunteers working on this. There's only 4 or 5 of us, and you know, we love to celebrate the volunteers. That is part of the day. It's not just, you know, go and watch the team. It's celebrating everything that's about it. And there are, you know, other, you know, people working on the social media side. Non-league volunteers is a great account, which is always flagging up all the great stuff that people do. And you know, without them, non-league football doesn't happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities in non-league football. Charlotte, you'll know better than most.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've always just found it such an enriching part of the game to be involved with. And I want to touch back on the point of affordability, because I think it's very prudent this year with the cost of living crisis, you know, people's hard-earned cash to go and spend on a luxury that is going to watch football. But it's so valued, isn't it, in the non-league game, Francis? It does feel that transactionary nature isn't a thing. There's a real understanding, whether it be between the players and the supporters, management, the volunteers. Again, shed some light from your experience having played in the non-league game throughout your career, and now obviously spending so much time trying to help players within the structure as well.
Yeah, I mean, the concept again with the community scheme which we've put together is around the fact there's this big group of people who are committed, you know, to their clubs, to non-league football as a whole. Cost of living will impact people's lives, but you will still have the strong attendances. I think I had to look the other day, average attendance, this bit of a stato here, excuse me, but
We love them.
average attendance this season across the top 4 levels has been something like, across the top 6 levels, been something like 400,000 week in, week out, people going. So the commitment to the game is there, right the way through. Now, we've tried to then look at it, say, with some of these, the ideas around it, is how you can turn that into benefits for the people going and for the clubs as a whole. So that's one of the things we've built with the community scheme, and we're trying to roll into, the non-league day messaging to say to people, your commitment, your repeated support for this it's a community asset. The non-league club's a community asset. So how can we help you to, reward yourself, reward your club, and make your life that bit easier through the system which we've built? So it's trying to give something back to those guys as well.
We need to protect our non-league clubs, don't we? Because of course they too are going to feel the effects with rising costs and bills, even to turn the lights on and welcome us all to their grounds.
Building on that, we followed many non-league clubs here at the Ramble, and we went behind the scenes at non-league day last season at Wembley, and it was great to see a local side, and the effect on the local community was immense. And because of their position in the pyramid, it feels like non-league football can connect perhaps more meaningfully with its local community at times. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as say, we've mentioned a club like Dulwich Hamlet, which has made every effort to do that. I mean, they invite various community groups in every week. And, the first year for me where I saw non-league day really hit home was at Dulwich in, I think it was 2014, where it was pay what you want, which I'd never seen before, and then everything they made once they'd covered their costs went to local charities, and which was amazing. And the place was absolutely packed to the rafters, and it was, they know how to do it. They engage with the community.
I think using that is the whole, even with Wembley, it's accessible. That's where the situation is. I think I'm not going to knock the Premier League clubs to that extent. You can't make it as accessible when you've got 60,000 people who want to go, but when you've got smaller clubs who've got smaller numbers, everyone knows each other, and they open the doors to say, come in, be part of what we're doing, it makes it cornerstone of the community.
Yeah, it's a USP for non-league clubs, and it's no surprise that the clubs that are best at doing that are the ones that are most successful and doing so well, which is really, really great to see. Right, it wouldn't be a Ramble, Jason, without a poll on social media. What has been going on?
So we asked this question to our social following: is non-league football in your area past it or thriving? And the results were pretty staggering. This is what they said. You like this? So we've got it up on the screen here. So good. Thriving 95%, past it 5%. So James, Francis, you've got to be pleased with that.
Oh yes, incredibly. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So we got some great comments on the post. Lots of people telling us where they were going for non-league day, telling us about their local club. I've got some comments here. So Ken Riley said, thriving. Marine are one of the best supported clubs in the country at Tier 7. Over 1,000 every home game. And things like non-league day have got to be contributing to things like that, haven't they?
Well, I do hope so. I mean, that's why we keep going. I mean, if it wasn't, and I'd give up, because it's a lot of effort. But we do get the feedback saying, please keep going. When is it? When's it happening? When's it happening? Let us know. They want a sort of an inside line.
Tell them it happens every week. You pick a club and you go and watch it.
Exactly.
And Francis, one of the other comments we had come through was from Darren Millard, who said it's thriving as people are getting priced out of league football. We spoke about the cost of living crisis, and that combined with increasing prices to watch EFL. There's a real point there, isn't there?
Definitely. It's, I mean, as a player as well, every non-league player will tell you that they should be able to play in the league, but you realise the difference in standard isn't as high, from each step you go. There's obviously a big difference between the Premier League and, the National League, but National League to League 2, you've seen a lot of the clubs who go up from the National League, they go, and compete at the top end. So you can pay less money for a good standard of football, and get much more engaged and, contact with the players. What's there not to like? Yeah,
that leads on to this comment from George South, who said non-league football is getting stronger on the whole. A fair chunk of teams in the National League would do well in League 2, which we know. It said in the FA, the FL need to sort out another promotion spot between League 2 and the National League.
I would agree. I think even if you take it a step further back, you look at the FA Cup. There's no year you have now without a cup shock, So how often does it have to happen before it's not a shock anymore? There is a trend. Non-league clubs on these one-off days can compete with the league clubs and the clubs higher up. So the standard is there.
And I think that standard filters down, doesn't it? So as the standard gets higher in the National League, the leagues below are the same, and the quality, is just filtering down.
The standards are rising, and even just by the number of comments we got to this poll, it made me realise anyway just how much the non-league game has grown. And one club that has perhaps played a part in that is Wrexham, and Helen Baker, who is a Wrexham supporter, she said it's definitely thriving since Rob and Ryan took over. The whole town has a totally different vibe to it now. And for many who have watched the documentary, it was a good watch. Don't know if you guys have. But is the money filtering down the pyramid in a most constructive way? Because there are lots and lots of pros of it, but there's also a few little controversies as well. And I just wondered, James, what your take was on that.
Which controversies do you mean specifically?
Well, there's a few in terms of like the streaming services, and obviously, of course, it's a very unique situation that Wrexham are in, but it does remove certain elements of competition when the wages, the access, the support base, the number of people streaming it gives perhaps a slightly substantial advantage to others that are not even full-time training yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to comment on that specifically, but for me, non-league day is not about top-end National League stuff. I mean, that might be controversial to say, but in my mind, it's sort of the 7th tier where I came in and watched my football and down, because it's still very much part-time. It's more sort of authentic from the non-league point of view. Of course, we love the National League and it's great to have them on board and all the rest of it, but in my mind, that's what non-league football is about.
I'm going to say the conversation as it's moved along has created a lot of good questions. So however it's come about, that's not, likewise, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of how it came about, but it's created a lot of good questions as to what could be done with non-league football. And again, without trying to make like an advert, but it's kind of what we're trying to do with our game as well. There's this huge group of people who deserve better, and there are ways to deliver. So the question's been asked, people are now looking and thinking what can be done. So one of our things is trying to do, I'm sure there are other organisations out there doing similar and the same, so it's how can non-league football as a whole be moved forward with this realisation that this can actually happen and succeed at this level of football.
Yep. And let's finish on a sort of more light-hearted comment here from John Hughes. He says, Moseley, a small town club, but supporters are second to none. Attendance is growing. A lovely club, well run with a top manager. You can drink on the terraces and the pie hut is thriving. And I just love the fact that, you can have beer and a pie on the terraces. It's an important
It's
thing.
It's a good point, isn't it? Because again, any Premier League and EFL supporters might not even know the fact that if you go to non-league games, you can just take your drink outside with you, and there are some really good catering facilities as well.
I mean, increasingly they have, clubs bring in sort of independent, like little pop-up trucks and stuff like that. And last time I went to Hampton, Richmond, they have a tuck shop on the side of the ground and all this sort of stuff. I love it.
But that's again the community side.
Yeah.
You're saying to local business, come in, be part of the club, introduce your service and your product to this group of people who will be here week after week. So come and be part of what they're growing and what they're developing.
It's great to see with the poll, we know that number of 95%. I think where we did have the small amount of negative comments, it was more around clubs that were either financially struggling, as you often get in non-league, or gripes with ownership or managers or the way the clubs run. So, but the rest of it, really positive on the whole. So,
I think those are universal
95%.
struggles, aren't they, across the whole football privilege?
Football. James, Francis, thank you so much for joining us. Your contribution to non-league football, truly inspirational. Glad you've come on here and tell your story to us. And long may non-league day continue.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Absolutely. So Saturday, the 25th of March, 2023, that is the date for your diary. James said head to the website, find out where your local game is and enjoy everything that non-league football has to offer, not just on that date, but throughout the end of the season as well.
Yeah, we'll put any sort of link to help you get to a non-league game down in the description. Join us next week when we'll be bringing on a new presenter and we'll be visiting a non-league club ourselves. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a ramble.